Hola, Han, Bonjour, Sitahe, hello. My name is Sue Legatt, and welcome to the Central Minnesota Art Board's informational video on in-kind contributions. The intention of this video is to help you become more familiar with the system of in-kind support, documenting it, and including it in your grant applications and final reports. Before we get started, I'd like to thank the McKnight Foundation, who advances efforts to catalyze the creativity, powership, and leadership of Minnesota's working artists and culture bearers, and the Minnesota State Arts Board, who allocates Minnesota's legislative arts appropriation, plus the Arts and Cultural Heritage Funds made possible by the people of Minnesota, who voted for the Legacy Amendment to support parks and trails, clean water, and arts and culture. So what is in-kind really? In the granting world, it's important to distinguish between the different kinds of expenses and revenue. In-kind is just one of those distinctions, unique in its structure, but essentially it is a form of revenue to offset expense in your budget. In-kind is a service or commodity that a professional or business has provided at a discounted rate, possibly even free. In-kind support can be verified by the supporter's business records and documented with an invoice. In-kind can be a total contribution or 100% discount. For example, the local art store gave you the supplies you need for free. It can also be a service, such as your uncle owns a trucking company and offers to transport the artwork to the gallery for free. In-kind can also be a partial contribution or a unique discounted rate that covers only part of what is needed. For example, the art store gives you some of the supplies you need or a discount on those supplies. Or it could be that the advertising company decided to only charge you $100 for the billboard instead of the standard $250. It is easy to confuse in-kind with other forms of support. The key difference is that in-kind can be proven by past services and prices, is not available to the general public, and comes from a professional or business who would otherwise charge. It is not a monetary gift or cash donation, even if that donation is given specifically to cover the cost of a service or supply. Volunteering is also sometimes confused as in-kind. If you have someone helping you with your proposal that isn't staff and doesn't get paid, they are most likely a volunteer. It is not when a mom helps organize the children for your youth theater program, or if a theater student offers to usher for your performance. Even though they may have experience doing these tasks, it is not their paid profession and would therefore be volunteering, not in-kind. Another misconception for in-kind is when a business has a sale or discount on the supplies you need for your project that is also available to the public, or if your organization qualifies for an already established discount, such as a 10% discount for educators. In-kind can be a game changer for your organization's efforts. It is important to always be prepared to receive a contribution, but you should also make sure that it is appropriate for you and aligns with your goals. Probably the best incentive for in-kind is that it can demonstrate community support for your proposal and your organization. With many of our grant applications, community or demonstrated support is a review criterion. In-kind contributions are part of your community, and that support stands out. Providing them with the option to contribute beyond the usual financial contribution is a unique and rewarding action. Another common criterion for the grant applications is the ability to successfully complete the proposal as described. If your budget is larger than what the grant can cover, in-kind support is a great way to offset your expenses and establish a network that can support your ability to successfully complete the proposal as you've described. And finally, depending on the nature of your effort, if it needs industrial or non-arts related support, in-kind is a great way for local businesses to be involved in the effort, possibly for the first time. This can help inform the broader community on the impact of your organization and arts-related efforts. Depending on the nature of the in-kind support, it could be considered a tax write-off for the contributor. But I want to note here that you should not suggest to a potential contributor that it is a tax write-off unless you are prepared to provide them with the necessary paperwork. Usually you know about an in-kind contribution when you're planning your budget and can enter the appropriate information into your grant application. However, you might get in-kind support spontaneously as you're carrying out the effort. That is okay and something we'll talk about later. Any applicant submitting for an organizational grant, such as project or public art grants, is required to explain the in-kind support in your application's proposal description narrative and in the budget as both expense and revenue. This is entered using our budget template, which is an Excel spreadsheet that you will download as part of the application. In the budget template, enter all of your expenses first, starting with in-kind at the top. Next in the template, you'll enter all of your proposed revenue, including in-kind. Each portion is divided into sections to help keep your budget organized and easy to understand. At the top of the budget template, there is a section designated for in-kind. Because this is something you would otherwise pay for, it is still expense. List the original expense total, including details on who is providing it and exactly what they are providing. These details are especially important if it is a partial in-kind. If the in-kind covers a portion of the total expense, you will need to list the remaining expense amount in the appropriate area, such as supplies or personnel. For example, if the local hardware store is providing painting supplies for a mural, you would enter the anticipated total cost of those supplies in the expense area of the template and indicate who provided it and what it was. This will prepare the reviewer to see that in-kind is also listed in the revenue section. Then, in the revenue area later in the template, you'll submit the in-kind total that will be received. This revenue line will cancel out the expense line you entered earlier. Each item of in-kind should be added to the template on its own line. Supplies for the public art project, advertising space, and technical or skilled services are common in-kind contributions. It's helpful to provide details that explain the type of contribution and how it aligns with the information provided in the proposal description narrative in the application. There are a couple of things about in-kind you need to keep in mind when you're planning and executing your proposal so you are prepared for your final report. First, regardless of when you received the in-kind support, whether it was proposed before and including in the grant application, or was submitted and gifted spontaneously during your effort, it must all be included in the final report. If there are any changes to your original proposal regarding in-kind contributions, such as the contribution amount was altered, you received in-kind you hadn't anticipated, or a promised in-kind contribution was canceled, you will want to include details in the budget template, but also in the reporting narrative. Depending on the situation, you may need to submit an amendment and adjust what is expected in your final report. If there is a substantial change to the budget or overall effort during its execution, contact CMAB right away to see if you do need to submit an amendment. This will allow you to adjust your project but not the grant amount and avoid any penalties or consequences after the fact. Basically, there should be no surprises in your final report. And finally, you must document everything, especially in kind. Recording the contribution is a nice way to document that person or business's commitment to you and your community. But we need official receipts, invoices, or contracts from the contributor that include who provided the in-kind, what it was for, and its total monetary value. After your effort is completed, you will need to submit a final report that provides a narrative and the actual or final budget numbers. The budget template from your application is the same template you use for your final report. At the bottom of the window in Excel, you will see a second tab called Final Report. In the Final Report tab of the budget template, the proposed budget from your application will appear on the left. The original proposed budget, including the in-kind you submitted in your application, will transfer over from the final to the final report spreadsheet. The actual or final budget numbers are added to the right for both expenses and revenue. Just like in the Application tab, the Final Report tab will show the expense portion at the top of the template and the revenue at the bottom, with In Kind as Section B. Make sure you provide accurate numbers as verified by your documentation for each In Kind item. Once you complete the template, you need to save the file before uploading it to the granting portal. In the final report, not the budget template, you will need to enter your actual in-kind total and all your in-kind documentation. Your in-kind documentation, such as invoices or receipts, are submitted as a single PDF. There are many ways to create this PDF, but the easiest, if you're not tech savvy, is to upload the images into a Word document and save it as a PDF. If you need help with this, you can always contact us for assistance. In Kind is a tremendous system that can change the trajectory of an effort or even make it possible. I know I have had some projects that went to a whole new level because members of the community chose to support my effort in ways that the budget just did not allow. Don't be afraid to accept that support, but always get it in writing so everyone understands what is expected. On behalf of everyone at CMAB, thank you for watching this video and learning more about In Kind and how it can benefit your organization and grant proposals. If you have any questions or need additional assistance, please call or email at the information listed. You can also learn more at www.centralmnartsboard.org.